We spend thousands of dollars trying to make sure a body doesn't look dead, while at the same time insisting that that person isn't there anymore. We are all travelers, and we all eventually reach a destination where there are no more roads. Let's talk about the preservation paradox. It's the ultimate contradiction. We claim the soul has moved on to something eternal, yet we treat the physical shell like a vintage car we're trying to keep in mint condition. By the end of this, you'll see why our obsession with freshening up the deceased, a $20 billion industry in the US alone, might actually be a sign that our modern rituals are failing us. I want to explore why we just can't seem to let the physical form go, because honestly, the way we treat the dead in the US is a strange piece of theater. Welcome to the Altarless Traveler, a space for the spiritually curious, the questioners, and the deconstructors. We invest heavily in the memory picture, that final, polished look in the casket meant to convince us they're just taking a nap. In the US, we spend billions annually on this illusion. The average cost of a funeral in 2026 is $12,000. This covers the singular event of cosmetic preservation and long-term storage. For this money, you could buy a family of 4 groceries for 300 days, take a luxury vacation in Southeast Asia for 26 days, including airfare, or pay 1 year's in-state tuition at a public university. It's a choice between a year of potential for the living or a lifetime of stagnation for a shell. And here's the real kicker. This chemical obsession didn't start as a sacred ritual. It started as a logistical fix during the Civil War. Families wanted their boys home, but a 3-week train ride in the July heat is a nightmare for a corpse. So we turned to chemistry, pumping them with arsenic as a shipping requirement just to survive the trip. We took a temporary transportation solution and turned it into a spiritual requirement. Today, we bury enough formaldehyde every year to fill 8 Olympic-sized swimming pools, marinating the earth to maintain a rested look. We even use eye caps, plastic spikes that grip the eyelids from the inside to force the eyes to stay round and peaceful. Then comes the protective casket. We pay a premium for a rubber gasket that supposedly seals the body from the elements. It's the ultimate paradox. That seal creates a localized greenhouse effect, turning a $5,000 coffin into a slow-motion anaerobic pressure cooker. Finally, we drop that box into a concrete vault, not to protect your soul, but to make sure the ground stays level for the John Deere lawnmowers. It's peak absurdity. We use chemistry and concrete to pretend the traveler never reached the end of the road. My experience with funerals began at age 6 in a small white church in Knox County, Texas. I walked into the entryway and saw my great-grandmother, Etta Eubank, my first dead body. It was a profound, jarring snapshot that hasn't left me in 50 years. It's a strange ritual. We spend thousands to dress them in their Sunday best and paint on a rested look. But the second that lid closes, the narrative flips. And suddenly, they aren't Grandma B anymore. There are over 10,000 horror movies featuring the dead, creatures who stayed in the box too long or refused to stay in at all. In 2020 alone, over 1,500 horror movies were produced worldwide. We are terrified of the very thing we just paid $12,000 to protect. It's peak human absurdity. We treat the body like a guest of honor at the wake. But the second it's 6 feet under dirt, we're checking the locks on the vault to make sure it stays there. Since my first funeral as a child, I've seen the illusion slip. Body's looking a bit decayed. It's a glitch in the matrix of our preservation obsession. When my father-in-law passed while we were living in Bali, we flew in just before the cremation. We had a private viewing in a small room at the funeral home. It's a persistent discomfort. We're staring at the vehicle after the traveler has already checked out. I once hung out with some funeral home employees who were casually debating the finer points of embalming. One girl mentioned how she'd accidentally pierced a person's back as if she were talking about a kitchen mishap, a workplace oops. To the rest of us, it's the ultimate reminder that the peaceful nap is a manufactured, fragile theater. Maybe that discomfort isn't something to fix with chemistry and concrete. Maybe we're just looking for meaning in the wrong box. When my own father passed, there was no theater, no chemicals. His family was there and he passed away in his sleep sometime in the middle of the night. He was zipped up, removed, and later cremated. No viewing, no memory picture forced by a mortician's hand. And I can promise you anyway, that dead body, that wasn't my daddy anymore. We didn't gather around a box to say goodbye. We gathered weeks later to celebrate the life he actually lived. Maybe those of us stepping away from organized religion are onto something. We aren't abandoning the dead. We're realizing that preservation is not important, but love is. That the point isn't to prove that we can beat biology, but to keep us wondering what lies beyond the shell. If you felt that same disconnect at a funeral, that sense that the ritual was for the industry, not the person, you are not alone. I promise you, you are not alone. I'll cover the industry of death in my next video. If this resonated, please like, subscribe, and drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you.